Bodybags, where horror lies.
Y'all, welcome to a very special theme week, in and out the month, of course. Picked by the man Matt. The theme is Continents of Fear. So basically, each reviewer is going to pick a different continent and do a movie that was filmed or storyline takes place in a certain continent. Speaking of Matt, got to give him a big shout out. This is his last week. You and Your Horror Movies is retiring from the channel, as is, I believe, Abby. But yeah, be sure to show both those guys love this week. It's been an honor having both of them on the channel. Uh, Legends, and I'm sure they'll be around doing their thing on their YouTube channels. There will be changes in the upcoming weeks on the channel, man. A lot of us are passing the torch, and including yours truly, Austin. aka Dubby Dubbles, I will be leaving here in a few weeks. I believe it's 4 or 5 weeks. I have to check the actual date. Whenever my 150th review rolls around, we'll be passing the torch. But we'll get there when we get there, guys. Let's get to the task at hand, and that is Continents of Fear. And I have the continent of Africa. So for that, I picked the 2010 film. Don't quote me on that. The Dead, presented by the Ford brothers. Let me get the dude's name. Lieutenant Murphy. Basically, Lieutenant Murphy is assigned this Air Force evacuation team, and his plane crash lands, and he's the sole survivor off the coast of, I believe it's West Africa or East Africa. Anyways, they crash in Africa. He is, so yeah, like I said, he's basically the sole survivor. And when he gets to this continent, he finds that the dead is turning to life, and very desolate landscape. It's very isolated until he comes a little bit further into the movie. He comes across a sergeant from the African army that's in very similar situations. He's very isolated and by himself, so the two decide to team up and make their way out of Africa, basically. Um, I gotta say, like, the landscapes and the setting are amazing. They did a good job. It covers a number of terrains. You have the desert parts of Africa included, as well as the jungle terrains. So I thought that was really interesting and a nice touch. And this movie it makes you feel like hot and sticky, like you guys are always sweating and thirsty. Really good makeup and stuff. Fantastic effects in this movie. Really good gore. Fantastic gore, in fact. Great head smashes and just broken bones, piercing out skin. Like, there's some just really impressive gore in this movie. You really get this sense of isolation, the way this is just kind of miles of desert and jungle, and there's nobody around besides these zombies, of course. And I have to say, the zombie aspect does get quite repetitious, though. Besides a few scenes that take place in night, which there's not enough of, in my opinion, in this movie. These scenes are not presented in a very suspenseful way, or it's not very scary at all. Basically, these guys are just going around picking off zombies one by one. It makes it feel more like an action survival to me. So that kind of took it back a little bit. And really not till you come across a voodoo witch doctor. Another thing I wish there was more of in the movie. Considering this is in Africa, origins of the zombie, I think they could have really played up the voodoo aspect of it and used witch doctors and stuff to progress the story a little bit. Let's see, you got Pretty basic story. Like you have a hard time connecting to the characters. I feel like a little bit until like I said, much later in the film. It takes a while until they start, especially the main character himself, Lieutenant Murphy. It takes a while for you to really connect to him. He does some reflecting of home and stuff, and even then, it doesn't really pull you in completely. I think that actor does a good job in this, though, best of what he can. So yeah, it's definitely a very very well made movie and well shot film. I believe it could have been 10 or 15 minutes shorter and been just as effective, if not more. Climax, I feel like it's effective enough. It works. Like I said, it just gets a little repetitious for me in parts. It's a little just kind of picking off zombies here and there, and I would like to see the horror and suspense brought up a little bit. But all that being said, still like really fantastic gore and just there is plenty of action in this movie, um, considering the zombie stuff. But for me, there was just some things that could have been tweaked and a few things that were missing. Yeah, and of course there is a sequel to this one I've not checked out. I thought it was interesting. I'll definitely peep it out. I'll probably give this one a 7 out of 10. Pretty solid zombie flick. If you're a fan of zombies, highly suggest this one. They're one of the better new ones I've seen in the past 10 years anyway. So that is The Dead. Until next week, y'all. Peace.